Alrighty guys, a very warm welcome to another video. So today we're going to be talking about this article from Triathlon Magazine, Canada. Why are today's Ironman athletes running so fast? Now, this was a recent article, and it goes on, as this year's Ironman World Championship proved, the best triathletes only continue to get faster, and it doesn't look like that will change anytime soon. Now, just as a general disclaimer about this topic, and I've had a few people mention in comments, seemingly like not angrily, but just kind of passive aggressively, or like just dismissing incredible performance by this idea that it's all just drugs. And we need to address it very early, because I'm going to read through this article and I can not guarantee, but I'm going to assume it's very much like, all right, improved training protocols, improved shoe technology, etc. Now, the whole anti-doping thing, or the whole doping thing in sports, I am, and this is my opinion, and it doesn't reflect the professional opinion on it of anyone else, I'm a little bit pessimistic. Not even pessimistic. I think it's just almost, and this is how I feel, it's a bit more like realist about the situation, that professional sports is professional. It's their job. It's professional sports. It's high value entertainment for the viewers. Sponsors want incredible performances. Race organizers want incredible performances. And if that means that athletes will be taking certain compounds in order to achieve that, I don't think, unfortunately, that the people at the very top, those who aren't racing but are, have stakes in these sports, I don't think they really mind. That's my opinion. That's my honest opinion. And now, with that said, I am very cautious about pointing at an athlete, or like even mentioning, one particular athlete is taking XYZ or must be doing XYZ or 100% is doping, because at the end of the day, I don't know, and really none of us actually know. All of this, if done, will be very secretly. I'm sure there are things that go on that improve performances, whether it's the old school methods, whether it's new advanced technologies, which are way ahead of anti-doping testing. But at the end of the day, the way I look at it is like this. In a realistic situation, if, for example, the best doping protocol, for example, right, would improve you 10%, it will make you 10% faster overall. Or maybe not even 10%, maybe even 5% faster overall over the course of an Ironman. If you're doing an Ironman already, like these pro athletes are, for example, some of them in around 7.5 hours, well, you're going to be doing a 7 hour, 6 hour, 50 Ironman. So it's kind of like, if otherwise, they were fully clean doing 7.5, and then now they're not. However, that said, like I mentioned earlier, I can't look at an athlete and say 100% they are doing this, this, and this, because at the end of the day, I don't know, you don't know, and unless you know exactly what they're doing, we can't say for certain. And I also think that regardless of if not whatever's happening, regardless of that, it doesn't take away from the performance, because you could give the average person every performance enhancing compound under the sun, and it still wouldn't make them anywhere near or give them anywhere near the potential to achieve the performances that these guys and girls are achieving. So there are many factors to consider in the whole scheme of things as well. You got to look at how much money is at stake. Being a professional athlete, you could probably make a lot more money doing another sport. You've also got to think about, so that's maybe like a little bit of a deterrent, but maybe it's also an encouragement, because it's kind of like, well, unless I get to the top, I'm not going to be successful. So look at that either way. We also know that a sport like Ironman, for example, being a for-profit organization, an independent company, needs to fund drug testers and needs to fund the national body where they're competing, or where the race is, to actually supply them with money to perform the drug testing. They need to fund the drug testing. I think, and this again, being real, one, they're to make profit, so it's not in their best interest from a profit incentive to put forward, hundreds of thousands of dollars at every single event. It's not feasible in order to test the top 10 athletes in every race. It's also not in their interest to have some of their best athletes return a positive sample, because that's going to tarnish the image of the sport. So with all that said as well, we know that with COVID and the lockdowns, a lot of the anti-doping kind of fell out the door. It really dropped down in terms of getting access to athletes safely or whatever. And we know that anti-doping really kind of took a backseat. So with all that said, I think that with any high-end professional sports at the very top of the very top, particularly endurance, where compounds can make massive difference compared to more skill-based sports, I think there comes a point where it's kind of like we need to accept that probably some stuff goes on, but also I'm not going to point at any athlete and be like, they're doing X, Y, Z, because we don't know. And it doesn't take anything away from the performance, in my opinion, if it's more of a level playing field. And I know that it's never a level playing field because certain athletes have access to better researchers, better doctors, better whatever. Now, so on that note, that's my general consensus of the whole, not issue, but the whole idea of performance enhancing drugs in sport. And I think that's quite a real take on it. I don't think that everything's a fairy tale, if that makes sense. But on the same note, I'm also not going to sit here and say I think that this athlete's doping, because at the end of the day, we don't actually know. So that's that. Could that play into why the times are coming right down? Yeah, I think it could. In all honesty, and but all these comments of, oh, what about drugs? What about drugs? What about drugs? It's like, well, what about it? It's really, really hard to say with 100% certainty XYZ is being used by XYZ athletes. So that's my take on that whole thing. Now, we're going to go to this article and actually just go into some of the actual guts of what this is talking about. So let's start. Whether it's due, if you're still with me, whether it's due to shoe technology, training methods, advances in sports science, or a mix of all of these factors, runners are getting faster. In the past 3 years alone, we have seen world records for both men and women at almost every distance from the 5K to the marathon. Triathletes have also evolved on the run in recent years, a fact that was made obvious at this year's Ironman World Championship after Chelsea Sodaro pictured above on her way to Kona title, which she is up here, taking the win. And Gustav Iden used blazing fast run splits to blast to the world title. So here's Gustav running to his world title here. So Kona 2022. So no one has ever ran as quickly in Kona as Iden ran this past October, and very few women have run faster than Sodaro. Iden's 2 hours 36 minute 15 second marathon took a whopping 3.5 minutes off Patrick Lange's 2016 run course record of 2:39:45. When he got off the bike, France's Sam Laidlow was ahead of him by 6 minutes and 25 seconds. Even for a stellar runner like Iden, that's a big deficit to overcome. Certainly, 6 minutes is massive, especially at this level. If any athlete in the lead runs well, which Laidlow finishing the day in a 2:44:40, obviously, they're kind of expected to be taking out that title, but we saw that didn't happen. So with such a massive gap to overcome, Iden got to work immediately and began chipping away at Laidlow's lead. After 10 kilometers, the lead was down to just over 4 minutes. At the halfway point, it was around 3. At 30 kilometers, Iden was just 2 minutes back, and then just 3 kilometers later, the gap was only a minute. At one point, over a stretch of 1,200 meters, Iden gained an amazing 36 seconds on the Frenchman, who, it should be noted once again, was not running slowly by any means. At around 36 kilometers, Iden caught and passed Laidlow, and from there, the win was his. He crossed the line in 7 hours, 40 minutes, and 24 seconds, a time that smashed Jan Frodeno's previous course record of 7:51:13. 2 full minutes ahead of Laidlow, whom he had passed only 6 kilometers earlier. Sodaro didn't set any records in Kona, but that didn't make her marathon any less spectacular. She left transition 2 in 4th place, 3 minutes and 21 seconds behind then leader Daniela Reif. Lucy Charles Barclay passed Reif early on the run, and it looks like she would finally take the win in Kona after positioning or taking second place on multiple occasions. If not for Sodaro, that would have been the case. Sodaro set off at a blistering pace, and it seemed that it was only a matter of time until this misguided decision would catch up to her. and she would begin to fade. Sodaro herself even said that she thought the pace was too quick, but she couldn't convince her legs to slow down. I kept trying to slow down in the first 10 kilometers, Sodaro said after the race. My coach told me to go out at 3 minutes 55 seconds per kilometer. Pace, I did not follow that direction very well. She caught Charles Barkley in just 12 kilometers, and for the following 3/4 of the marathon, she extended her lead over the field. She crossed the line in 8 hours 33:46, almost 8 minutes ahead of Charles Barkley. This is Kristian Blummenfelt here at the Ironman 70.3 World Championships in St. George, taking out this title in November. So only getting faster. Just like Kona, Ironman run times are getting faster around the globe. Kristian Blummenfelt, Iden's fellow Norwegian, is one of the best runners on the Ironman circuit these days. And, many people have mentioned he doesn't look like your typical very fast runner in terms of, obviously, pictures don't do things justice. And he is quite lean. He is very fit. But relative to the, 5, 6, 7, 8% body fats of some of these high-end runners, he's certainly not your picture of, or your typical, is not what you typically imagine a extremely fast Ironman runner would look like. But he indeed is one of the best, if not the best. So in 2001, he won Ironman Cozumel. His first race of this distance, he obliterated the field with an incredible overall time of 7 hours 21 and 12 seconds, a result that included a 2 hour 35:24 marathon. A few months later, he was in St. George, Utah for the 2021 Ironman World Championship. He took the win there too, anchored by a 2:38:01 run split. So this was early in 2022, but it was backdated because of the pandemic. A month after his maiden Ironman World title, Blummenfelt appeared in Germany for the Sub-7 project, a test event created to see if a man could break the 7-hour barrier in a full-distance race. Blummenfelt did not take that. Blummenfelt did just that. My goodness. Stopping the clock in an amazing 6 hours 44:25. Obviously, this was not an official Ironman race. It was drafting, etc. Once again, this time was made possible in part by a tremendous run leg, this time with a time of 2 hours 30 and 50 seconds. A women's test event dubbed by the Sub-8 project also ran in Germany, and Great Britain's Kate Matthews joined Blummenfelt in his record-breaking ways as she smashed the 8-hour barrier with a time of 7 hours 31:54. She ran an amazing time of 2 hours 46:09 for the marathon. Now, they go on. It's all in the shoes. So no matter where you look in the sport, athletes are getting faster on the run. But the question still remains why. So many athletes are data-driven these days. They take every metric into account and apply it to training and racing. There's certainly a reason for the faster speeds we're seeing. Then there's the psychological aspect to be considered. When Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, he proved it was possible, and since then, hundreds of runners have done so. We could be seeing a similar phenomenon in triathlon. When triathletes like Blummenfelt and Matthews break records, it shows their rivals that such times are achievable. The list of potential reasons for faster run times can go for a while, but one undeniable factor is shoe technology. When Nike released the Vaporfly in 2017, the shoe game changed forever. The Vaporfly featured a carbon plate in the midsole, and it became the shoe that propelled Eliud Kipchoge to a 2 hour and 25-second marathon. He eventually ran a 1:59:40 in another Nike carbon-plated shoe, which was the Sub-2 project. Since then, every major shoe brand has come out with at least one carbon-plated shoe, and because of this, athletes all over the world have seen their times drop. World records that seemed unbeatable have been shattered thanks to carbon shoes, and the times have only continued to quicken as the technology has improved. This year's races in Kona were amazing, and the athletes produced jaw-dropping performances, but this is just the beginning. Iden's 2:36:15 run course record and Miranda Carfrae's 2 hour 50:26 Kona record or Kona marathon best aren't safe, nor are any other running barriers triathletes have in mind. There is a new era of running in Kona, and it's going to be a fun one to watch. So, just going back up the top here to obviously discuss, that article and some of the points they raised. So they raise the points of shoe technology. Now, I think that technology in general, particularly the shoes on the run, and similarly to like the bikes, this is obviously improved aerodynamics, improved bike technology is going to make athletes faster for the same wattage output. That makes a lot of sense. The run's a lot more organic in that you don't have as much technological potential for advancement beyond really the shoes, the race suits. With the race suits, for example, you can have improved cooling, you can have slightly improved aerodynamics, which over the course of a whole marathon may make a bit of a difference. Improved mobility, but like generally, the suit improvements will make a small difference. The shoes will make a very large difference. So I agree that when Vaporflies came out with Nike, that was a game changer. That was a set really the start of a new era of running records. So we have the shoe technology, which is primarily a number one factor, I believe. We also realize as well, like, for example, Gustav ran in prototype shoes, which Ironman has now come out and said that no longer will that be a possibility because in 2023, we're actually going to be following the World Athletics guidelines, which state that the shoe must be available for public purchase however many months, I can't remember exactly, prior to you using it in competition, and it must be able to be bought off the shelf by any other athletes. It can't be your own prototype, individual shoe that only you can access. So that's gone. But then again, I don't think it makes that much of a difference because great quality shoes are available. So shoes are a big thing. I think technology in general is a big thing. For example, with race suits, cooling, improved cooling, etc. And then if we think about it as well, the training is a massive one. So improvements in data analysis, improvements in interval training, a lot more structured training and monitoring of health parameters, monitoring of fatigue levels, and really making everything about the sport a lot more scientific. Now, this is always going to improve times overall because compared to the alternative, which is a lot more unstructured, whenever we have more structured, scientific, data-driven training, even though for the, I guess, the purists of the sport that just love to go out and train and enjoy it and improve and get faster, going off feel, when you run data and someone who can really flourish by using data and not get kind of deterred by that, that's going to advantage them more than just kind of going off by feel every single day. So improvements in training, I think they're going to have improvements in the training sessions, but also the data analysis and structuring and periodization of the training itself. So we have technology, we have training. I think nutrition's improved. I think that, obviously we have improvements in the delivery of carbohydrates, improvements in hydration and athlete understanding of that, and a lot of science behind that, and trying to improve electrolyte intake, carbohydrate intake, water intake, or general hydration during the race. So technology, training, nutrition, all improving. Like going back to the start, I think that the issue of drugs in sport will always be around, but I'm very hesitant to come out and say, or I'm very cautious to come out and say that I think 100% these athletes are doing X, Y, Z, because at the end of the day, it's not even something that any of us can really say with certainty. So we can have like what we know, and we have what we don't know. And I don't think it's healthy to draw speculation too much on what we don't know. I also think that as a realist, drugs will always be a part of sport. How much they are involved in triathlon, it's really hard to tell. But with the whole pandemic and reduction in drug testing, and also Ironman's kind of limited capacity to fund drug testing at racing, you can kind of put two and two together. But again, looking at a particular athlete, it doesn't help in any capacity to really be all, speculative and kind of point fingers, because we don't know. And I think it's probably part of it, but I'm not going to say it's like any different to probably what's gone on in the past. I think that obviously just technology improves and athletes are able to stay more ahead of drug testers in terms of working their way around or working with novel compounds that aren't even potentially detectable. That's not to say that I think every single athlete is doping. It's not to say I don't think you can be a professional. It's not to say I don't think you can't be a professional athlete without it. I think you certainly can, and you can certainly make a career. But with anything that's profit, incentive, fame driven, and there's a true motivation to actually go down that route or dive into that world of performance enhancing drugs, I think that will always be a part of sports. So, discussing it in depth and discussing it to the night's end, I don't think it's necessarily, I just don't think it helps really, because in my opinion, it's always going to be part of it. Which athletes? All of them? Probably not. Some of them, maybe. Who really knows? So that's my opinion on that. But in general, I think obviously training, technology, all that kind of stuff is primarily the driver behind all of it. And then, you can speculate about everything else, but I mean, it's very, very difficult to say for sure. So let me know what you guys think. If you're still with me after 20 minutes of that very long-winded discussion about why today's Ironman athletes are running so fast, what do you think are the primary drivers for this? And if you are going to comment and just say drugs, well, just do so in a in a less kind of dismissive tone or whatever, because I don't think, even if so, they're still the best of the best. So that's where I stand on that. So let me know what you guys think. Hope you enjoyed the discussion in the video. Take care, everyone. Merry Xmas, or Merry Christmas, I should say. And I'll see you all in the next video.